On DC Music Rocks, we're shining a spotlight on the great songs, artists, and incredible people behind the DC region's local music scene. For Carolyn Malachi, tethering soul, blues, and jazz music to trap, Afrobeat, and house music is just one method of elevating the good vibes. She says, on the path to understanding, music is the intersection where we pause for conversation. You did, and it's such a good quote. This Grammy-nominated artist, Fulbright awardee, and cryptocurrency enthusiast is also the creator of Grits and Gary, the podcast. And pulsing through each beat of Carolyn Malachi's electroacoustic sound is the mantra, onward and upward. I came across Carolyn when I started, many years. I think I saw you at the Funk Parade, like 2 years ago.
Hey, yeah.
And
you were wearing a blue jacket.
And you were wearing a it was a shirt, and I can't remember what it said, but I Instagrammed it because it was so good, and I'll have to find it. But anyway, I've been a Carolyn Malachi fan for a long time, so I just have a little personal fanboy moment when I get to say thank you for being here. This is so cool to have you.
Thanks for having me. This is a pleasure.
And so now, talk about you and the story, your connection to DC.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it.
Brooklyn born.
Yeah.
I'm a Northeast girl.
That's it. And ever since, always been? Have you ever gone and come back?
Yeah,
or?
gone. I went to school in West Virginia. I lived in Baltimore after that, and I am enjoying being back home now.
Nice.
It's magical.
And when you say enjoy being back home, how long have you been back home?
I've been back home for a few years.
Nice.
For a few years, yeah. So it's definitely, when I came back, there were noticeable differences, but I think Washington has always been a city of diversity. It's been a city of change, and culture here is just beautiful.
Definitely. Beautiful. There's so much culture going on. I mean, oh my God, it's whatever you want. Like in the music, for example, on this show we play all different kinds of music, and whatever kind of music you want, we have it here in DC for you. It's kind of amazing.
This is true.
And so now your vibe, have you always been kind of like that smooth jazz and Afrobeat, and has your sound evolved over time? Has it always kind of, or did you find your niche in the beginning?
I think that the music that I've released is sort of indicative of what my parents used to play for me on the car rides home from school, which is basically the Quiet Storm.
The Quiet Storm, keeping you soft and warm.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Ladies, like that vibe, right? But also, I mean, I grew up with, Pac in my ears, also Alanis Morissette, Creed, just a bunch of different artists, Chuck Brown, you name it, Pat Metheny, Jaco Pastorius, Bob Marley. My great-grandfather was John Malachi. He was a pianist that played for Sarah Vaughan. So I think Radiohead, I think one of my biggest musical influences is Tom York.
Wow.
So now I'm in school and I'm working with a lot of music tech, so my production style is even evolving to include more of the sounds that I would like to incorporate.
Wow.
So I'm really excited about what is being created.
And while we're talking about the past, tell us, what's your earliest memory with music?
I'll tell you about my best memory of music. So I saw Pat Metheny at the Strathmore a few years ago.
And if they don't know who Pat Metheny is, how would you describe Pat Metheny?
You don't know who Pat Metheny is.
You need to get on Google.
No, so Pat is a legendary jazz guitarist. So I went to hear him at the Strathmore. My first time hearing him live, he had just released his album Orchestrion.
Wow.
And he walked on stage, he played one note, and I was just crying. Just bawling, crying.
Wow.
And so my dad...
Crying for
My
why?
dad was... this is what I'm getting to.
I jumped the gun.
Before we had walked into the theater, I saw my dad in the audience. I was like, what are you doing here? It's like, I'm coming to see Pat Metheny. So I was like, okay. So there's intermission, and we walk into the hallway, and I was like, Dad, I could not stop crying. He was like, oh, that's because I used to play Pat Metheny's music when you were in your mother's womb. I used to put headphones on.
Oh,
so,
yeah?
Yeah, so I guess that was me having... Something was triggered.
There you go.
And I guess technically that is my first musical experience.
So to all those moms-to-be out there, you can put headphones on your stomach and play good music for
play
your...
Carolyn Malachi for your baby-to-be.
You definitely should do that. If I had one on the way, I would do that for sure. Because, man, it's just such smooth sounds. Because you heard one of the songs on this episode, but she's got such an amazing collection. So you got to check out more of Carolyn's discography because it's so good.
Thank you.
Now, take a break from that and tell us about you on the personal side. So outside of Carolyn Malachi, the musician and the producer, what's life like for you?
You know, I love trading cryptocurrencies. It is such a fun, invigorating, depressing hobby.
And wait a minute. Trading cryptocurrencies.
Yeah,
Pretend
like,
I don't know what that means. What is that?
I'm super into it. So, I mean, if you've heard of Bitcoin or if you've heard of blockchain technology, I'm like super into that. I don't think blockchain's going to save the world, but I'm pretty sure it's going to change the world. So, I'm considered an early adopter. I mean, on the record, like I'm one of the first artists to have accepted Bitcoin, you know, for music.
Oh, okay.
But now I spend a lot of time trying to get other musicians involved. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what is the incentive to get another musician involved in Bitcoin?
Well, I think the long-term view here is we could potentially use blockchain technology to speed up royalty payments to musicians and to provide more accurate royalty payments to musicians. Like there are so many people who are left out because they're not properly credited, or maybe they don't have access to PROs, which are performance rights organizations. And so part of getting people into that blockchain space is, I think, getting them to at least touch or have some experience with the most popular application of blockchain technology, which is Bitcoin.
Wow, there it is. Ways to transform the world of musicians and transform the world as a whole with blockchain technology. And if you're not familiar with the stuff we're talking about, at least Google it so that you kind of know what's going on, because this is, if it hasn't already touched your life, it will be touching your life in some way, shape, or form very quickly here, because it's an amazing technology. Even if you don't apply it to currency, I do have to say it's a wonderful
for
concept.
Basic record keeping.
Yep, all those databases where somebody deleted something, that goes away with blockchain. So anyway, but back to you. So now, we were talking about you outside of music, and we got Bitcoin. Share something else. What else you got?
Which led us back to music, right?
Uh-huh.
I love my boo. He's amazing.
Your boo?
My boo.
Oh, there he is. Are we gonna shout out to him specifically?
Yeah,
Who is this?
Shout out to Io.
Oh, Io. There it is. And now, what about you? So, funniest moment that comes to mind performing?
Performing. Ha, ha, ha. So, man, I used to perform barefoot.
Really?
Yes, until.
Uh-oh.
Well, I don't want to say until. This kind of was the thing that made me reconsider my choices. Oh. But I was playing, there was a show on the campus of St. Elizabeth's, and I think it was produced by Public Works, I think. So somebody was really feeling the spirit, and we like that as musicians. But they walked to the front of the stage, and they reached up, and then they touched my feet, and it just felt really weird. And so I left it alone. I was like, okay, they didn't just like tap my toes. They like rested their hand on my feet.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so no, it's really not. So then
you're right, it's not.
So I like kind of squatted a little bit, but like in rhythm. So it was like a rhythmic squat, and I like dusted their hand off of my toes. So then, I'm like kind of working the stage, going from side to side. And so I remember going to like the right side of the stage. Then I turned around, and this guy, the same toe toucher, had walked up the opposite side of the stage, and he was making a beeline toward me, and then security, bum rushed him and got him off the stage. I was like, I don't want anybody touching my feet on stage again, because apparently my feet are magical.
There it is.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. You got a toe toucher, and it changed your life, Carolyn.
That was, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But I still kick off my shoes from time to time. You gotta get in there.
I was gonna say, and if that's your tendency, you can't just let it go because somebody touched them. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They still come off at some point. I will go on record and say that she is currently wearing shoes. Just for the record, right now there are shoes on. So
the toes are out, but the shoes are on.
You're right. They're open-toed sandals,
yes.
So it's good. Now, what about biggest success moment that comes to mind for you in your musical career so far?
I had a tour last year. It was with the Department of Defense.
Excellent.
And
to the troops?
Yep.
Yep.
All-woman band, Middle East, 5 countries. Middle East and North Africa. And our last city on the tour was Cairo.
Nice.
And we actually, when we landed, we drove about an hour to see the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx.
Wow.
And so my band and I, we arrived, our host is with us, and she's like, "Would you all want to climb the Great Pyramid?" And of course, I mean, what, we're in Cairo, of course. And it was, at that moment, it was just really beautiful. I know 2 of the members of the band had never been on the continent of Africa before.
Wow.
So just, seeing their tears and just watching them beam, that was amazing. But then we climbed this doggone pyramid. And let me tell you, if you have not climbed the Great Pyramid and you think you want to do it, you need to, do boot camp or something.
Training.
Before
Physical training.
Yes, because it's not like when they built the pyramid, they had central air, right?
Right.
So, or stairs. So
Right.
you're literally, crawling up a slope that never ends. And then when we got there, we got to the top, there was an empty tomb. That's it. It may be a couple hieroglyphics. We were so bummed. But
That's a lot.
we made, I think I'm really proud of that moment because it sucked, but as a team, we made it up there together and we made it out there together. And now, whenever either of us has a conflict in our lives, we say, whatever happens, we climbed the Great Pyramid.
This is true, and
we made it out.
That is a biggest success moment.
We climbed the pyramid.
I love it.
Yes.
And if you could offer, my favorite question, if you could offer one piece of advice, what would it be?
Never get your eyebrows waxed. Never. Never. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do you have a bad experience with this that you learned the hard way, or where does this come from?
I think it's less about the eyebrow waxing and more about what it represents, right?
Okay.
We pay people to hurt us.
Fair. I guess that, man, when you think about it in that context, we do a lot of that.
We do a lot of that. Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so don't get your eyebrows waxed.
No eyebrow waxing.
No eyebrow waxing.
Squeeze them.
Oh, that, which is still hurting, but it's yourself.
Exactly.
So that's okay. I love it. Oh my God! And if for those folks who want to find out more about you and the amazing stuff you're doing, where do they go?
There's always CarolynMalachi.com. I am more often on the Twitter and the Instagram, so if you tweet, you can tweet me at Carolyn_Malachi, or Instagram, it's just Carolyn Malachi.
There it is. And Malachi is Malachi.
Yes,
That's
it is.
Carolyn Malachi. And Carolyn with a Y.